Well, Spider-Man in the MCU has officially been canceled. We had fun. The Civil War journey was amazing. Made a little cameo there. Ended up being so good he got his own movie. Moved on to become an Avenger. Died and returned. And then had a second solo film. It was a great ride, and who knows? This might not be the end of Spider-Man. So I'm going to go down with the details right after this quick introduction. You might think, what am I talking about? Well, just props over an hour ago, Disney, and producer Kevin Feige both went to Sony, who owns the rights to Spider-Man, and said, hey, they had a 10/90 deal, which means the money off the solo Spider-Man films, Homecoming and Far From Home, 90% of the money goes to Sony and 10% goes to Marvel for co-producing. And Marvel didn't like how, all the toys, money, and stuff like that goes to Sony, and all Marvel gets is like a couple $1,000s off these solo films. That's all Marvel got. Marvel got their money for Endgame and Infinity War, even with Spider-Man, and Civil War, because, that wasn't a solo film. So they got their own money. Sony didn't get money on that, because Homecoming and Far From Home did so well. So Far From Home, if you didn't hear, hit $1.1 billion, so congratulations, props to Far From Home, but that also means that Sony gets cocky. Really, really cocky. And after Marvel proposed a deal of a 50-50, meaning they both get half the money, which is fair, which is completely fair, Sony said no. And instead of sticking with that, they decided to take the rights back. Now, here's some, I guess, okay news. I'm excited that we still have this, but there's a part of me that believes that specifically Sony will mess it up. They still want to work with Jon Watts, the director for Homecoming and Far From Home, and they still want to work with Tom Holland. So that Sony contract still has Tom Holland on board unless it wasn't a Sony contract. If that was a Marvel contract, then technically Sony cannot work with Tom Holland anymore because that was a Marvel contract, which means that Sony would have to spend most of the money that they just earned off of Far From Home to get that contract, which means that they won't have enough money to make a solo film. Now, this does work as for a movie that I haven't seen yet, and I really want to see, that maybe Venom and Spider-Man could be together, because Venom isn't owned by Marvel, it's owned by Sony, even though it is a Marvel Comics character. They say they still want to work with Jon Watts, maybe Zendaya, maybe Jacob Batalon, maybe Jake Gyllenhaal if he returns, but characters, not even Jake Gyllenhaal, but characters like Nick Fury, Maria Hill, Iron Man, Captain America, I think even Ned and MJ, you will not be seeing with Tom Holland again. Now, there have been, times where this has happened, even in the MCU, where they make a mistake and the next morning the deal is proposed back up again and it would be a 1090 tomorrow morning. And we will still see Falcon and Spider-Man interact in their ways. Or this could be it for Spider-Man in the MCU. So, here's my problem. Yes, I would love to see Venom and Spider-Man team up or go against each other. I'd love to see an Agent Venom. But if they were working towards Flash Thompson becoming Agent Venom in the MCU, there's no point because there's no Spider-Man. I hate it. Marvel was working towards Miles Morales in Homecoming. And then you want to know what Sony did? Although this isn't a terrible movie, this movie was actually really, really good. But I'd love to see a live-action Miles Morales, and we don't get that because Sony made Spider-Verse. Don't get me wrong, I love that movie. That movie is one of my favorites. But when it comes to having a live-action Miles Morales, is a lot more meaningful in the way that he means to a lot of our diverse community than just a animated film. Did the diverseness come into effect in the animated Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse film as it did with the diverseness community effect with the live-action Black Panther film? Nowhere close. Spider-Verse was talked about being the best Spider-Man film. Solo film. Black Panther not only was talked about being the number one Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, but also the number one most diverse movie in the world. We don't get to see Miles Morales live action. By Sony, yes. But do we really think it will be that good? No. The point that I'm making is, Sony, before you make a solo Spider-Man film, think about the fans before you think about the film. If you say, oh yeah, they would want a solo Spider-Man film, think about it more. You made Amazing Spider-Man 1. It did well, but the young kids out there who didn't understand why we weren't seeing Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, why didn't they know? They didn't know that there was a reason the Avengers weren't showing up. That movie did okay. And then you made Amazing Spider-Man 2. And by that point, the kids understood why they weren't seeing the Avengers. And then Civil War came up because you made the deal. And the kids loved it. That movie, what I'm saying is, Civil War, Homecoming, Infinity War, Endgame, Far From Home, countless billion-dollar films. And you're willing to put it down the drain. Think before you do. Saying hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Leave me down a comment saying if you enjoyed this new thing and if you're excited to see Venom and Spider-Man together. Or are you unhappy and you don't care a bunch of poop that, Venom and Spider-Man are together? Or would you like to see Venom, Spider-Man, and the Avengers together? Green Goblin. Imagine seeing a universe with the Avengers, Spider-Man, and Green Goblin's gallery. We might never see Mysterio with Spider-Man again because of this mess up. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys on the next.